Welcome to Finest Work Songs. My name is Matt.
My name is also Matt.
Matt, what is it we do here on Finest Work Songs?
Well, Matt, we love to get together and talk about classic albums, those albums that mean a lot to us or to others. These could be some of the best-selling albums of all time, or just maybe those albums that just meant a lot to us at certain times in our lives. The one we're going to do today, to me, is one of those albums.
Speak for yourself.
When you and I were first talking about doing a podcast, the subject of this album we're talking about today was probably the one that kind of instigated the conversation, because we have a lot of the same music interests, love a lot of the same bands, but there was one that we sort of hit an impasse at.
That's right.
You felt like you should like this band, but have never gotten on board with.
Yeah, and that band is The Smiths. If you look at my catalog, everything would suggest that I would be a Smiths fan.
Because you're mopey and you hate yourself. You love rain.
All the stereotypes. Yeah. Having all the music that I did, The Smiths should have been in my catalog. But yeah, I just could never get on board.
This should be fun. I mean, because this really was the one that got us talking about, hey, it would be fun to do a podcast and talk about one of us explain why we like a band or an album and almost try to convince the other. But I don't think that's going to happen today.
Do you have hopes?
I'm like Morrissey. I gave up hope a long time ago.
What do you think I'm going to say?
I don't know, because a band like the Smiths, I think the criticisms that people have about them, I can see. I mean, it's like very literal, angsty lyrics. Morrissey's voice, you either like love it or it kind of grates on you. So I fully expect you to rip on it. I may even be disappointed if you don't.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah, so the album we're going to talk about today is Strangeways, Here We Come by the Smiths.
As always, we like to start with our memory of an album. So, Matt, what do you remember about the Smiths' Strangeways, Here We Come?
So my sister is 8 years older than I am. And so when she was off at college, I was in middle school, I believe. She came home one weekend and she had 2 cassette tapes. And she was like, you've got to listen to these. One was Poison, Look What the Cat Dragged In. And the other was the Smiths' Strangeways, Here We Come. 2 incredibly different albums. I definitely have stuck with one of those longer than the other. Although, hey, I mean, every now and then you want to enjoy a little Talk Dirty to Me.
I'm sure we're going to do a Poison
episode.
Yeah,
at least one.
Yeah.
A lot of Smiths fans probably count The Queen Is Dead as their best album. To me, Strangeways is their most complete album. And it's nostalgic. It's the one that introduced me to them. So that's why I always start with this one.
I did wonder that. I saw that this is their last album.
I mean, they actually broke up before this album was released.
Yeah.
Never toured off this album. But as a, probably 12, 13-year-old, you listen to these lyrics. I feel like a lot of ways, Morrissey's lyrics were, kind of saying things that you think, but you're like, oh, I could never say that to someone, but he's actually putting them on a record. That was interesting and intriguing to me. And musically, I just love everything that Johnny Marr puts into these albums, and weird combination of those 2 guys, really, coming together.
So what about the lyrics? Is it that they're so upfront emotional?
So upfront emotional, they're overwrought with angst and mopiness, and songs about girlfriend in a coma. It's serious. I mean that was very different from what else was probably on the radio in 1987.
What else was on the radio?
Here
we go. When this was released, number 1 single was "Didn't We Almost Have It All" by Whitney Houston.
Ooh.
Anytime we talk about what was on the charts,
it's always Whitney. She is there.
A few months earlier, it was "I Want to Dance with Somebody" by Whitney, followed by a 1-week stint of the Moonlighting theme. Oh. That was number 1 on the pop charts. What was the Moonlighting theme?
Did Bruce
play the harmonica poorly? Let's see. That was Al Jarreau.
Al Jarreau. I guess it was called the Moonlighting theme, or was it a song he had recorded earlier and they, hey, we'd love to use this as the Moonlighting theme?
Oh, good point. I don't know. I wonder if when artists, they were like, hey, can you write something for this? They're like, sure.
Sure.
Here you go.
Goes and sits on the toilet for 5 minutes and cranks something out, and I got your moonlighting.
So poops and records it. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
There's the moonlighting thing.
Someone by night, some by day.
Why was this on the pop charts? Has any other TV theme song been on the pop charts? Hey, Google, has any other TV theme song been on the pop charts?
Yes, the Friends theme song.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Like, you would never hear, like, the Seinfeld, like, bow, 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 bow.
So that's the
Musical landscape.
of 1987. Although another Brit closed out the year, George Harrison, Got My Mind Set on You. Poor George.
Well, when you think of the great George Harrison songs of all time, that's number one, right?
Got My Mind Set on You is sad to me.
And then the video, do you remember the video?
it's
And he
terrible.
does like, air quotes, gets up and starts dancing and then does like a flip.
Does he really?
Yeah.
I just remember all the
The
animals.
stuff's moving, the clock
Yeah.
is moving in the background. Was that pre-Wilburys?
Yeah, I think Wilburys was a reaction to that. Like,
They're
it was like an intervention. We need to help them out. Let's get together, guys. Let's go on tour. Yeah, 1987 was not a good year on the pop charts as I look at it.
You've got that extreme of very polished pop and Whitney and Al Jarreau and all
Yeah.
that. So to hear something like Strangeways Here We Come was pretty eye-opening for young Matt. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
What about you? What's your memory of the Smiths?
I didn't have it easy growing up, Matt. My parents died. I was raised in community by my brothers and their extremely handsome friends. And we managed to fly under the radar of the foster care system. My oldest brother, Daryl, made sure that we stayed in school, made sure that we stayed out of trouble. But it wasn't easy in my neighborhood, especially with the friends that we had, like Dallas and 2-Bit and Steve. This was a time when wrong side of the tracks meant something, and we were on the wrong side of the tracks. We didn't have money, and those who did, who lived on the other side of town, really made it known. We had a name for the rich people, Socias, which was short for socials, which is the same
Number of syllables.
My friend Johnny and I liked to go to movies. While we were there, we were talking to two of the Socia's girlfriends. One was named Cherry, which you would think would put her on our side of the tracks. Nope, she was a Soch. And it really made Bob and Randy, their boyfriends, mad. And everything was fine. They diffused the situation until later that night we were hanging out, and Bob and Randy and their friends came looking for us. They put me in a fountain in the park and really tried to drown me. And so Johnny pulled out his switchblade and murdered Bob. Wow. I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because Bob deserved it. One of our friends, Dallas, sent us away on a train, and we went and hid out in an abandoned church a couple towns over. I bleached my hair with peroxide. I read Gone with the Wind. Johnny was really into Robert Frost, just like a couple of greasers. That's what we're into. After a few days, Dallas came and told us that Cherry was going to back us up in court. That was good news. And we decided, we were starving. We'd been eating crackers, and we decided to go out and get something to eat. So we went out to a diner. And then when we came back to the church, it was on fire with kids inside of it. I don't know how the kids got in there, got trapped, and started a fire, but that happened. We rescued the kids. We were heroes, except poor Johnny. A burning beam fell on his back. He had some severe burns, and then he was charged with manslaughter. So Johnny having a bad day. Because Bob, the Soch, had died, the Socias called for a rumble, which is just a big gang fight, We met up with another gang, and we went to the rumble. We only hung out with like really hot greasers. So it was like rainy and muddy. I mean, it was like probably slow motion. But afterwards, Dallas took me to the hospital to visit Johnny, who kindly enough waited until I got there to tell me to stay gold. Dallas was so freaked out that he went out there and pretended to shoot a doctor and then robbed a grocery store. Finally was shot and killed. I had a sad upbringing. Lost a lot of friends, a lot of hot friends. I don't know if I mentioned how handsome my friends were, but a couple of them went on to great things. You know, one became a fighter pilot. One became a dance instructor in upstate New York.
One took those rumble skills, I think, to like a karate meet or something.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Translated.
One ended up becoming the city manager of Pawnee,
Yeah.
Indiana.
Right.
We greasers were attracted to this melodramatic music, and this album, Strangeways, Here We Come, really helped me get through that time of mourning.
It's funny you use that story. When the Smiths broke up and Morrissey formed his backing band, which I think most of them are still together with him, they all look like they should have been greasers.
That's what made me
Is that
go
what
this
spurred?
direction.
Because,
Yeah.
I mean, they all look like Pony Boy
Yeah.
and Dallas and those guys. I mean, they're all
Totally.
really, really good musicians, but they all fit that mold to
Yeah.
a T. It's kind of uncanny.
Yeah, they do. They look like straight out of the greasers side of the tracks. Also, do you know who was in this movie as an extra? Flea
Flea?
from Red Hot Chili
Really?
Peppers was an extra in The Outsiders.
Really?
Like, he was a Soch, which is crazy.
Well, I was as you were talking about, I was looking through the cast, and like Tom Waits is in this movie.
Really?
Yeah, he
Who's
plays
he play?
Buck Merrill.
Oh yeah, Buck didn't he have the store?
Well, there's a store clerk.
Who was Buck? Let's see. Buck was like an older greaser.
Okay.
I joke about all the hot friends, but this movie is known for having sort of the up and coming stars
Yeah.
in the 80s. This was my favorite book growing up.
Yeah.
Hands down. I used to read it over and over and over again. I feel like the movie did a pretty good
Yeah.
job. It did
Pretty
justice.
true to it.
Yeah.
I've read it, but it's been a long time. Does it describe all the guys as like hot? Were they true to the book in that sense? Like, oh man,
What if S.E. Hinton was like?
his
and-
sinewy
yeah.
muscles as he got out of his car.
Always raining.
It's always raining.
Steamy. But for real, I don't have any memory of this album. I just have a memory of the Smiths and friends who were really into them, especially in these years. If you were into like U2, Boy, and War, it seemed like the Smiths was another band that you were into. And for whatever reason, I could never get into them. So they kick off this album with a rush and a push, and the land is ours.
Some 18 months ago, I traveled to a mystical time zone, and I missed my bed, and I soon came home. They said there's too much caffeine in your bloodstream, and a lack of real spice in your life. I said, leave me alone, because I'm alright, Dad. Surprised to still be on my own. I'd hate the strain of the pain again. Rush and the push and the land that we stand on is ours. It has been before, so it shall be again. And people who are uglier than you and I, they take what they need and just leave.
He starts off the album with, "Oh, hello." Like, that's his first lyrics is, "Oh, hello." He talks about being the ghost of troubled Joe, hung by his pretty white neck some 18 months ago. I traveled to a mystical time zone, and I missed my bed. so he comes
so I came
home.
home.
Yeah.
This encapsulates Morrissey. I'd much rather just be in my own bed,
Yeah.
like by myself. But I'm alone. Don't talk about love because it makes me sad.
Yeah.
But I want to be loved more than anything else. For me, as like a 12, 13-year-old,
Yeah.
when you're in thick of middle school and early high school, and there's cliques, and there's the greasers in the section, because every school had that, right? In the 1980s, you got the popular group over here, you got the jocks, you got the nerds, and I think the thing about these kinds of lyrics, and they are overly dramatic. I mean, overly melodramatic, and I get that. But it was kind of like he's saying what we want to say. He's putting on an album what we're thinking, but would be too afraid to actually say or write down. Or
Yeah.
something.
So he's giving voice to, if not these feelings, at least deep emotions that at the time it's hard to express. So leave it to Morrissey to do that for you.
Right.
Even if he goes overboard with it. Who do we have in this band? We've got, obviously, Johnny Marr and Morrissey.
Yeah, Johnny Marr is the chief songwriter from a music standpoint, and essentially all lyrics are Morrissey. Album covers and artwork, I mean, all that's Morrissey. Andy Rourke was on bass, and then Mike Joyce on drums. Good musicians, I mean.
But living in the shadows of Morrissey and Marr.
Because you've got Morrissey and Marr's creativity, and then you've got their personalities, which sort of overshadow everything.
It seems that everyone would be in the shadow of Morrissey, who insisted that he be called by his last name.
Right.
Because he hated the name Steven. Also, what if his last name had been like
Nordberg?
Yeah. He's like, I go by Nordberg from now on. Only call me that because I don't like Steven. They're like, maybe you should rethink that.
Yeah, play this out a bit.
Yeah. Steven's actually kind of cool. Nordberg, not as much.
Not as much.
That's how they open up in a big dramatic way. Second song is I started something I couldn't finish. I don't foresee any drama coming with this one.
All the great pop songs have the phrase absolutely vile in them.
When I think of Morrissey, it is captured in this song when he's singing, typical me, typical me,
Right.
typical me. That to me is Morrissey. He's like, stop looking at me. Keep looking at me. Right. He's so obsessed with himself, it seems.
That's fair. And I mean, I think he's like one of those folks who would be like, oh, are you guys going to the beach? Yeah. Oh, no, I don't want to go anyway.
And he sits down and starts reading a book of poetry so that you could see the cover.
Yeah, that's right. Right.
That's what I have a difficult time getting past. Mm-hmm. It's hard for me to see that this is an act because he's like, you'll call me Morrissey and don't you dare call me anything but that. Growing up, my memories of Morrissey on TV were him standing on stage while people would rush the stage and go up there
and throw roses at him.
Throw roses. And he's standing there just looking forlorn. Yeah. But he gets up there and does it every night.
Yeah.
Perpetuates the stereotype. So it's hard for me to separate that from him. If it were some sort of act, maybe I'd applaud and say, wow, what a neat character this is. But it just seems like it's him.
He came and performed in Durham, I don't know, 6-7 years ago. It still happens. I mean, you've got people just rushing the stage. I mean, I've never seen more people like hop up on stage to try and like hug a performer before.
Do they have security at the concerts?
He probably tells the security like, all right, what I want you to do is let them hug me and then pull them off.
Right.
So it looks like I don't really want them to hug me, but I really want them to hug me.
But I really want them to hug me.
There are obviously much bigger pop stars and rock stars out there.
Yeah.
And I've never seen the amount of people running up on stage as I have at a Morrissey concert.
Some of these fans are like 60, 70.
Oh, they were then.
They're getting they're getting up there. So then
they got their walker.
Very slowly.
And he's still like, okay, just let them hug me. We'll give him time.
Right. He's trying to pretend like he's getting away, but he's having a hard time with it because
he's also 60. His hip is sore from carrying the weight of the world for so long.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Honest question for you. If you took away the persona, not even the persona, but Morrissey's personality and his...
If you took away Morrissey.
If you took away Morrissey, if you took away Morrissey. Well, like musically, what does it resonate with you? Can you separate the two?
That's been the question over the past few days as I've been listening to this album. Mm-hmm. almost nonstop.
You ignored your kids for days because you're like, sorry, kids, I've got to listen to Morrissey.
I take this podcast seriously, and they'll appreciate that someday.
That's right.
Any child whose parent neglects them thanks them later.
I mean, there have been case studies that prove that.
Yeah. As I listened to this album, that was the question. Mm-hmm. Is it just Morrissey or is it the band? Mm-hmm. And there are times when I really got into it. And there are other times when I thought, I recognize that they're good. Mm-hmm. They just seem so uninteresting. Mm-hmm. Johnny Marr, I think, is brilliant. Mm-hmm. Knowing that he wrote and arranged a lot of these songs. But the rhythm section kind of overall just...
serviceable.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like a blues band rhythm section where you're like, all right. Yeah, so not bad, but it's just uninteresting.
And again, you've got such an omnipresent personality in Morrissey. You probably can't swap out his presence and the music not be affected.
No. Can you imagine if they did like a Van Halen where they tried to get rid of...
Gary Sharon comes in and sings The Smiths?
Who would have replaced Morrissey if they'd gotten rid of him? Who's like a lesser Morrissey?
Oh, gosh. Who's the guy from Depeche Mode?
Oh, yeah, the lead singer from Depeche Mode. Who is that guy? What's his name? See, he couldn't do it because we don't know his name.
I don't know his name.
Also, you read that Van Halen autobiography. What happened?
It stopped before that because it was the manager who was like the David Lee Roth era manager. He gets into like why they broke up and stuff, but he doesn't really get into the Hagar era.
Why did they break up?
Mainly because he thought he was bigger than the band and he wanted to do stuff like I'm Just a Gigolo and California Girls. And
how are you in a band with Eddie Van Halen and you think you're bigger than Van Halen?
Right. He wanted to be more of a showman and Eddie wanted to be a musician.
Then he looks over and sees Michael Anthony on bass playing a Jack Daniels bass. And I could see David Lee Roth being like, wait, so I'm the problem? I'm the one trying to be a showman? Look over here. He's playing a bottle of Jack Daniels.
The death of a disco dancer. Well, it happens a lot round here. And if you think peace is a common goal, that goes to show how little you know. The death of a disco dancer. Well, I'd rather not get involved. I never talk to my neighbor, I'd rather not get involved. Love, peace and harmony. Love, peace and harmony.
It's not just what he sings, but it's how he sings it. It's like he's testing the mic. The death of a disco dancer. You know, he seems so uncaring about anything, especially the death of a disco dancer.
Well, but it happens a lot around there.
Yeah.
He's kind of used to it.
What's going on in Manchester where these
man.
disco Also, is disco dancer an occupation or is it a description?
Might be an occupation. I mean, Manchester was pretty...
Working class.
Yeah, and so
known for that.
Maybe you could still make ends meet by being a disco dancer in mid-'80s Manchester. Sort of Morrissey in a nutshell. I never talk to my neighbor. I'd rather not get involved.
in the death
of
a disco dancer. Things may have been bleak in Manchester, but I could see where if you're in middle school, this speaks to emotions. Mm-hmm. Even if you're not dealing with the death of a disco dancer in Dunn, North Carolina.
Right.
More like the death of a mule and Mule Days. Did you roll up to Mule Days in a Smiths t-shirt?
God, that's a surefire way to get your butt kicked. Man, I can't even imagine doing that. I do remember, so in Benson, where Mule Days takes place, for years and years and years, it was very popular to go cruising in Benson, which would, you just get in your car on a Friday or Saturday night.
Head on down to the DQ.
I believe there might have been a DQ.
Oh, man.
Just go up and down the main street
Yeah.
through the middle of town. And I can remember listening to Morrissey solo albums with my friends, cruising events. And it was almost very Morrissey-esque because we would be like, oh, look at all these lame people cruising down. And we're going to play these songs about how we hate all these lame people.
Right.
Oh, look at me, but don't look at me. You know. So, yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Totally. I mean, remember.
I like to think of you
that.
like leaning on your hands, looking out the window, just like kind of staring forlorn at people as Morrissey
raining.
plays. Oh, yeah, it's raining.
All these jocks and socias.
So at the end of this song, they kind of carry on and just
Jam out.
in
In
a
a Smith's jam out kind of way.
very indie way. As soon as I heard it, it really piqued my interest because Johnny Marr joined Modest Mouse in the late 2000s, which was kind of cool because apparently Isaac Brock of Modest Mouse, which he was making albums in 95, 96, you know, first albums, looking for a guitarist. And it's like, I love Johnny Marr. Let me call him up and see. To think that you grew up adoring a band and then you get to the point where you say, well, let's just try. But I never knew the influence the Smiths had on Isaac Brock until I heard this song. Because the end of Death of a Disco Dancer sounds like a Modest Mouse song. That sort of breakdown and angsty, almost off-kilter guitar.
Noise, but still kind of works together.
Very artsy, but also not distorted, which apparently Johnny Marr wouldn't do distortion.
Yeah.
He was insistent upon that. So he also was melodramatic. But that sort of like really driving the clean sound and not to where it breaks up and distorts, but just this.
It's dirty and noisy because it's just layers of clean sound after clean sound on top of each other.
Yeah. So that was pretty cool to hear this and go, oh, I see now why they were such an influence.
If you were to do what Isaac Brock did and be like, hey, I'm going to do an album, and you could ask anybody like who you idolized growing up, who would it be?
Oof.
To play on an album?
It's a tough question because it gets into what's the genre that you're playing. But the first person that comes to mind is Johnny Greenwood from Radiohead.
Yeah.
I think he's a genius. On the guitar, he's been the person that has blown my mind more than any other guitarist. And so I would just even want to be in the room and see him do his magic.
Yeah.
What about you?
There we go. Oh, Alvin, Simon, or Theodore, probably.
Those influential people. Yep.
Girlfriend in a coma, I know, it's serious. Girlfriend in a coma, I know, it's really serious. There were times when I could have murdered her, but you know I would hate anything to happen to her. No, I don't want to see her. Do you really think she'll pull through? Do you really think she'll pull through? Girlfriend in a coma, I know it's serious.
Is it serious? Because it doesn't sound serious
Well, the
at all.
happy music makes it not sound serious.
I imagine him, oh my gosh. I imagine him starting to date a girl after she goes into a coma, just for the drama of it. She falls into a coma and he goes and he's like, hey, do you want to go out with me? And then he's like, goes and tells everybody, my girlfriend's in a coma. And this poor girl's parents, he probably comes in and is like, hey, I wrote a song.
Hey, here's some flowers. I wrote a song.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, that's lovely. Maybe you could give voice to our grief. And then he starts playing this. Why would you write that song? And he's like, I said it was serious.
BBC Radio 1 apparently refused to play it, and Morrissey later said, you're not really supposed to like those songs. They're very depressing, and they're not supposed to be played on the radio. Which is the most Morrissey thing you could say about a song.
Don't play it on the radio. But seriously, play
No,
it.
whatever you do, please don't play it.
Yeah.
I don't want
anyone to hear this.
I love this song. This is to me where I mean, I like Death of a Disco Dancer.
You would.
Yeah, I would, because I hate disco dancers. I feel like this was probably the part where I just fell in love with this album. To me, it was just such an eye-opening song on this album.
Also, singing, do you really think she'll pull through?
Then at the end, he says, let me whisper my last goodbyes. I know, it's serious.
You keep saying that, but to you, it's not serious, Morrissey. Also, girlfriend in a coma. He doesn't mention her name. Like, it's so crazy.
What if he actually had in there, whatever your name is? What's her name in a coma?
He seems like the type to wander the hospital after she dies, and then he's there a week later like, what about her? Is she in a coma? Is she going to pull through? That's my girlfriend. That's the thing. He's not even writing about losing someone, because girlfriend in a coma, it's carrying out the drama. It's the most tragic thing, because it's not that she died and he has to grieve. It's that he gets to wallow.
Yeah.
This guy is all about wallowing in some self-pity and also look at me while I do it.
And that totally spoke to me in like 1987, 1988.
Well, you had to figure out how to grieve that mule that was in a coma. Donkey in a coma, I know.
That mule that was wearing a Smith shirt and got killed.
If a donkey went in a coma, it would never happen. They would just be like, all right, kill it.
All right, shoot it. It's serious.
I know it's serious.
I know it's serious.
All right. What's next on this fun ride?
Stop me if you think you've heard this one before.
Stop me, oh, stop me. Stop me if you think that you've heard this one before. Stop me, oh, stop me. Stop me if you think that you've heard this one before. Nothing's changed. I still love you. Oh, I still love you. Only slightly less than I used to, my love. I was delayed, I was waylaid. An emergency stop, I smelled the last 10 seconds of life. I crashed down on the crossbar, and the pain was enough to make a shy bald notice reflect and plan a mass murder. Who said I'd lie to her? Oh, who said I lied because I never. Who said I lied because I never.
Can you imagine him being late? He walks in. I was detained. I was restrained. And broke my spleen and broke my knee. And like he goes,
dude, it's okay. We know it's all right.
Yeah, it really is not a big deal. I smelt the last 10 seconds of life. What? First of all, smelt. Who says that? And also, the last 10 seconds. That's a long time. It's not like a flash before your
that's
eye.
wallowing. Think about your life flashing before your eyes. But 10 seconds. That's a long time.
That's more than a flash. Also, how many times has Morrissey smelt the last 10 seconds of life? Probably every day he walks in, he's like, I almost died. They're like, what happened this time? Now, musically, this is probably my favorite song on the album.
Yeah, I could see that.
And I think it's when he is singing earnestly, when he's actually singing and not sort of doing the wallowing, half singing. That's when I can get behind it.
Yeah, they haven't done a lot of like greatest hits. This one always ends up being on there, I think. I don't think of it as being necessarily one of their most popular songs, but it seems to be one that is more universally appreciated and loved. I think musically it has more of a complete lush sound, I think, than some of the other songs on this album in particular.
Yeah.
But even then, nothing's changed. I still love you, only slightly less than I used to.
Oh my gosh.
God, I love this. I love this guy.
So they had a producer on this album, Stephen Street, for the scene in Manchester, one of the greatest music scenes in all the world. That also included James and New Order, and again, Elbow.
El who?
You were on this podcast where we talked about it.
That's right.
But this guy also, Stephen Street, also worked with Blur and did Park Life, and he did the Cranberries. Everybody else is doing it, so why can't we? This guy seems like a staple of the Manchester scene. You know, I'm just impressed that he was able to work with Morrissey.
To work with both of those guys.
Yeah.
And, be able to produce something that's this impactful for a lot of people, not just quit midway through it. Even the recording process, apparently, like the whole band would record during the day, and then Morrissey would retire, would go read, Oscar Wilde or something, and the rest of the band and Stephen Street would start partying and then remixing and reworking things.
So then the next day, Morrissey would come back in and find something new.
Probably.
He was left out.
Yeah, right.
He was ignored.
Ostracized.
Yeah, he was ostracized. Oh, he loved that.
Yeah.
Golly.
He probably left the studio and then doubled back and cracked the door just a little bit to make sure they were really drinking and partying without him.
It just peered in sadly. He just stood there. He didn't go anywhere. Forlorn.
So we talk about the album title at all?
What is this?
So Strangeways is actually a prison or a jail. And I got to think, if smartphones had been around in 1987, every mopey teenager in England would have done selfies in front of Strangeways.
Prison.
Oh, yeah. It'd be the most Instagram place in the UK.
I'm looking at it now. It's actually a lovely building. At least the entrance is really nice. That is pretty clever. Strangeways, here we come. I didn't know what that meant, but makes me like them. Yeah, you've changed my mind.
There you go. All right. Well,
good job.
You're welcome. My work here is done. One of the more iconic songs to a lot of people on this album is Last Night I Dreamt That Somebody Loved Me, which that's Morrissey in a nutshell right there.
Oh my gosh. Is this a live cut from their concert?
Last night I dreamt that somebody loved me. No hope, no harm, just another false alarm. Last night I felt real arms around me.
And I love the song, but it's very much, I dreamt someone loved me. Oh, just a false alarm.
Yeah.
Poor old me again.
Every day he probably
Every
dreamed
day.
that.
That's right. Again, to 12-year-old me, one of the other songs that I could not get enough of was Unhappy Birthday.
You were a sad child.
I was not a sad child.
Were you mopey?
I was, yeah, I probably was.
I mean, every preteen and teen.
Right. No,
is,
I don't think I was mopey.
Yeah.
I don't think of myself as mopey.
You were just really into this.
I just really liked it. Yeah. I wanted to be mopey, and this allowed me to be mopey without being mopey. Right?
I've come to wish you an unhappy birthday. I've come to wish you an unhappy birthday. 'Cause you're evil and you lie, and if you should die, I may feel slightly sad, but I won't cry. Loved and lost, and some may say, when usually it's nothing, surely you're happy, it should be this way. I say no, I'm gonna kill my dog. May the lines sag heavy and deep tonight. I've come to wish you an unhappy birthday.
He puts a lot of effort into his mopiness. He is coming over to wish you an unhappy birthday.
That takes effort. I wonder if he has a cake, but there are no candles on it.
It has your name misspelled. Usually if you don't like somebody, you're going to avoid them. He's still wanting to be present so that you know. He says, if you should die, I may feel slightly sad, but I won't cry.
Even then, he takes it so much further when he's like, I'm here to wish you an unhappy birthday, and it means that much to me that you have an unhappy birthday that I want to kill my dog.
Yeah, where's the dog coming into that?
But I mean, in his defense, the person of emphasis in this song is evil and they lie. So they should be killed or have an unhappy birthday.
Apparently they broke up with him. That's why.
Right.
So this person breaks up with them and he signs it from the one you left behind. He sings that 4 times.
Right.
And then just sings behind a dozen times.
Right. with a unhappy birthday. Just in case you forgot.
I remind you.
At least you forgot what the purpose of this song is.
As I've been looking at the lyrics of these songs, he just sings I in every song. The dude is all about himself. Mm-hmm. And maybe many pop stars are, but this persona of him where he's sort of half-heartedly singing, I think it's Morrissey.
To me, there are certain bands that I love, but I also recognize that, like, there may be one part that just keeps people away. Like, I mean, for some people, like Rush, they can appreciate Rush, but it's like when Geddy Lee sings, like, high-pitched.
Yeah.
They're like, wait, I can't get on board with that.
Yeah.
You know, and I get that. I mean, I totally understand that.
And that's how you were with the National.
Yeah,
you
right.
know,
Yeah, exactly.
Similarly
with the National, yeah. I mean, musically, really compelling, really interesting music, but it was almost like I just hit this like block with the voice. So totally get that. On the opposite side of things, for me with the Smiths, it's like I probably would have liked a band made up of Johnny Marr and a couple other dudes, with another singer. You know, I think for me, like, it would not have been the same thing, at all. Like, I mean, and I love a lot of Morrissey's solo stuff since. I mean, I think some of the best albums of the 90s were his solo stuff, but I still don't feel like they quite reach the same level of the Smiths. So I think you can't have one without the other.
Yeah. It seems like Morrissey and Marr had a mutual respect for one another.
Yeah.
And a lack of respect for their bandmates because they only gave them each 10% of the profits while they took 40% each.
Right.
So they at least agreed on they were brilliant, but the other dudes were basically replaceable.
Studio musicians, apparently.
All right, so Morrissey's at your door. He's all mopey and sad, and he's going to come in and just occupy your day unless you take a song off Strangeways. So, Matt, if you had to remove a song off this album, which one would it be?
The one song that I would probably take off, and I still love the song, would be Death at One's Elbow. It's the next to last song on the album.
Oh, Dad, don't come to the house tonight. Oh, Dad, don't come to the house tonight.
I just think the other 9 songs are better songs.
Okay.
From top to bottom.
I think for me it would be Last Night I Dreamed That Somebody Loved Me.
It's not dreamed, it's dreamt.
Sorry.
I mean...
Last Night I Dreamed, just like it's smelt. I can't get past that beginning riot scene. Every time it came on, I thought, oh my gosh, what are we doing here?
They're coming from Morrissey.
Oh,
he's
yeah.
so...
Huggable. It was too much drama for that one. I will say, I was pleasantly surprised with how much I enjoyed listening to the Smiths over the past week.
Right.
And I even thought I might turn a corner. I have been singing Girlfriend in a Coma for days, which my daughter's
Darn
like,
catchy.
what? What are you
catchy.
singing, Daddy?
Daughter in a...
But I think at the end of the day, I still land in the same place of not being a Smiths fan, but I do have a greater appreciation for Johnny Marr. And even as much as I've dogged Morrissey, I've enjoyed this more than I thought I would.
Yeah.
I thought this would be miserable, but there are definitely some moments and songs that I really got into.
I've enjoyed talking about this album for obvious reasons, but I also knew that this was going to be a fun one because we're not exactly aligned on the Smiths.
Are you listening right now?
Where do you fall in the great Morrissey debate? Are you Team Matt or Team Matt? You let us know your thoughts at Finest Work Songs on Twitter and Instagram, and also look for us on Facebook.
Thanks for listening to Season 2 of Finest Work Songs. It's 2020, so we'll see you next time when we drop the deuce.
And the radio is on.
Our theme song is by the incredible band Medium Heat. This track is called Radio, and you should check them out at mediumheat.bandcamp.com. And check out any upcoming shows if you are in the Raleigh area. They're on Facebook at Medium Heat